right, beautiful people. I'm sure you're here today because you want to take advantage of what the Gap Mastermind offers, which is growth, action, and production. For those of you guys who just literally got off a boat to be on this Gap Mastermind like me, I just came from the port, came in here, and I was like, I just can't wait to share with you guys, what I've done all my career, and that is set my consumers for an exceptional experience that they desire to pay extra for. And that's what professionals do. I want to make sure that I drop this nugget often to you guys. People take pride in paying more for services of a professional, right? Like people brag about it. Like, oh man, I hired a coach. Like as if just hiring that coach just made them skinny and put a bunch of muscles on them, right? In their mind, hiring a professional means I have a solution, right? So I want you to write this down as I am the solution, right? Because if when you have that ideology and you start sitting down with the consumer and you let them know that you are the solution, they immediately tie that to paying a value, a premium for that solution. So what we're going to talk about today is how do we craft a commission for ourselves that people desire to pay for and they're willing to brag about it. They're willing to brag about the fact that they're hiring somebody and they're paying a premium. And why would you use some dollar store AFA realtor, right? And if you guys don't know my vernacular, I say AFA. And because we got some guests on the call, I'm going to say the F means average frustrated agents, right? And those are people that go around showing people homes and they don't know how to articulate their value proposition. So they get paid whatever's left over at the end of the deal. And we've been doing business like that went to a property and said, okay, we're going to do all this hard work and whatever's left over, that's what I'm going to accept to feed my family. And we no longer have that. Thank goodness for there's no lawsuit. We're now encouraged to be actually negotiate our value proposition. So today we're going to really talk about the consultation, kind of an old school method of finding out how to talk to our consumers so they feel they hired the right person and they feel empowered that they have a solution and they're ready to pay for that solution a premium. All right. So again, this is old school, getting to know your customers, building trust, getting value, and doing the one thing that Jordan Belfort says is sales. Because all of you guys have is a license for sales. It doesn't say you have a license for anything else. You're a sales professional. And as a sales professional, according to Jordan Belfort, you are selling energy. You are selling passion, right? So when you are doing your consultations, the first thing you've got to know is, I've got something they need to hear. I've got something for them that is going to change their lives, and I am a value proposition, and I am an investment on their future. You have the knowledge, you have the skills, you have the tools, you have the resources. You work for the #1 most productive brokerage in the world, and you have a solution for them. How do we get them that? How do we get them that spot? So I'm going to assume that we're sitting in front of our potential buyer. And we're sitting down with them at one of a few places, maybe their home if they have a house to sell, there's only really 3 places I want to meet a consumer, right? In their home if they have a house to sell, in my office, or in a neutral spot like a coffee shop, Starbucks, or something of that nature. Maybe I've always have a favorite spot. In fact, when I meet a consumer, and I do a lot of lead generation too, they say, I was like, well, where do you currently live right now? Well, I live in this XYZ area. Hey, you know the Starbucks in that area? Almost every single person, if I ask, you know the Starbucks over by where you live? They're going to say, oh, you mean the one over on Windtree? Yeah, that one. Why don't we do this? Let's meet at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'd love to show you how I'm going to help you get the best property for the best price with the best protection. And setting the appointment that they're going to get something from that appointment is super, super important, right? So again, we're going to meet in one of 3 places, in their home, at your office, and everybody on this call has an office at Regis, right? So we have 17,000 locations. If you haven't activated your free Regis office participation certificate, go ahead and do that in your EXP Enterprise in there and get that going, and make sure that you're activated that so you can walk in there with pride. Make sure you go in there, you know that's my office. I have 17,000 locations, right? Or you're going to meet them at a local coffee shop. Starbucks everywhere kind of looks the same. There's going to be some tables, offer them coffee. I always ask them what's their favorite coffee. By the way, here's a little side trick. I always try to get there early. I always like to know what coffee they want. and I always order their coffee extra hot. Extra hot. And here's why. And some of you guys know my secret. When I offer them coffee, one of the things, especially when they're meeting me for the first time, they try to play the I'm gonna hide behind my caramel macchiato game, right? And they take the coffee thing and they put it to their lips, and then it burns their tongue, right? And then they put the coffee down and they listen to me. And usually the consultation goes really well while the coffee's hot. Once it gets cold, then they're making excuses as to want to go. And if I haven't articulated my value proposition by the time that coffee gets cold, I haven't done a great job. So always order your coffee extra hot for your or tea for your potential client. That's just a little side trick, old skills. So anyway, the first thing I want to know when I sit down with my client is what's wrong, right? So that's what I want to know. So I'm going to ask him, so tell me, my opening question to every single person as I hand them, sit them down, is like, so tell me your story. What's going on? How can I serve you? Right? By the way, in my consultation, very rarely you're going to hear me ask any question in the first 75% of the appointment about the property that they desire, how many bedrooms or square foot. I could care less about that. I do not ask any questions that have anything to do with the MLS outright. And I'm going to go over some questions that you're going to ask. But the first questions we have to ask is, if we're going to create a mental model, here's what I want you to write. I want you to write www, right? And there are times where I've sat down with a consumer and I just write on a piece of paper www, right? Which, by the way, it's just the who, the where, the when, the why, the what, and the how. And of that order, I don't really care about where you position that. And a lot of people say, well, I want to know their why first. That'll come out. I want to find out who. That'll come out, right? But I do want to tell you that, to me, the who is important to me. People are very, very important to me. So I'd like to find about their personal situation. I want to ask them questions. So I'm going to go over some of the questions that I asked. So I'd like so tell me about your situation. Where do you currently live? I'm in the who section right now, right? Where do you currently live? What do you love about the property you're in right now? And by the way, that's super important. Let me see if I can pin myself up here to the front. Boop, there I am. Wow, maybe I shouldn't have done that. My hair's a little wacky. I just got off the boat. Anyway, so who's involved in the situation? And you got to remember this. Everyone where they live right now at one time was the perfect place. They wanted to live there. They picked that place because it was great. For some reason in their timeline, that was the perfect property. Hey, if there's one thing you love about your property you'd like to have in your new property, what is it? Well, I love my master bath. I really do not want to leave. If there's one reason I would stay, it's my master bath. Okay, tell me about that. Well, it's got the dual sinks. My husband's a slob, so I want to make sure that I have my own little area. He has his own little area, blah, blah. Okay, cool. What else? And I want you guys to get in practice to this secret phrase of what else. Inside of your consultation, you should say what else. And I'm not even exaggerating, at least 20 to 25 times, right? What else? So, right, what else times 25, right? Because I really want to know beyond just the double sink in that master bathroom. Like, if that's the reason, that's the one thing you want, it can't ask me more than just that bathroom, right? What else about that? Well, it's a big shower. And we like to shower together. I mean, it's a big shower. And I was like, if there's one thing I have to have in my new house, I have to have that big shower. I love having that big shower. What else? Well, it's got the lighting right, and we got a little steam room, whatever. What else? I want to know everything you do. Is there anything else about your property you enjoy? Just out of curiosity, if there's one thing you hate about your property, what is it? And I said, well, I hate the fact that there's not really a dining room. Like, I love to cook and blah, 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 blah. And I can't really serve them. Well, how often do people come over your house? It's a conversation. And by the way, conversations lead to commissions, right? So the more questions I ask them and the more they talk to me rather than me talking to them, which is what we expect from a professional, right? When we sit down with a doctor and the doctor says to us, like, hey, what's going on? And you say, oh, doc, my shoulder's hurting me. And then they just take from there and they haven't got any insight. That's not a professional you want to do business with, right? So you go, hey, my shoulder's hurting. You expect that doctor to ask, well, how long has it been hurting? What have you tried? How much is it hurting, right? Hey, here's a couple of solutions. Which one do you think is best for you? Well, I've tried that before, right? Same thing in a consultation for home ownership. Hey, have you ever worked with a great realtor before? Have you ever worked with a bad one, right? What we're really trying to find out is if there's a spot on your paper of why we do a buyer consultation, is to get the roadmap for success. We're trying to figure out what is it going to be, what is it going to take to delight this customer? What is it going to do to overwhelm this customer where they're going to want to pay you a premium and brag to all their friends about the process, right? That's really what I'm trying to do. I want to overwhelm them. So what else do I want to find out? Like, okay, so who's involved? Oh, so what are the kids' names? Any pets, right? What do you think they're hoping for? What are the kids hoping for? Well, they're really hoping for a backyard because we don't got that right now. Great. How big of a backyard are we talking about? Are we talking about a New York backyard or an Arkansas backyard? Because that's a big difference. Texas backyard versus a New York City backyard, two big things, right? So I need to know perspective. Whenever someone tells you something, you've got to ask them perspective. Tell me more about that. What do you mean by that? Right? You know, I love asking people this question, and I tell them this. I love asking people this question. If there's one room in the house you spend the most time in, what is it? And you know, some people are going to say the kitchen. Some people are going to say the living room. Some people are going to say the game room. Some people are going to say their workout room. Some people are going to say the bedroom, right? But you can't make assumptions about that. I want to know, like, what is the priority within this home? I want to understand their story. I want to know what they're running from and what they're running to. I believe everyone's running from something when they're in the home process. Why not just stay where you're at? It's another question. Like, those are killer questions I love asking. Just out of curiosity, why not just stay where you're at right now? The traffic's ridiculous. Tell me more about that. Because the first thing they tell you is not always the absolute truth. It's not the true meaning as to why. Because there's traffic where we're going to, I promise you. Right? You know, I live near the Navy base, or I live near blah blah. And at 5 o'clock, if I don't leave my house if I don't leave my job at 3 o'clock, I might as well just stay till 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock because the traffic out of downtown is ridiculous. And I live on that side, and everybody's taking the same highway. We all have to merge in this one spot. It's a bottleneck, and I'm in there for 45 minutes. And what happens is my kid comes home, and they're alone, and you know, I just want to be there when they get home. Like, get to traffic is never stay with traffic. Like, oh, find out how is that making you feel? How would moving on this side of town fix that problem? What else? What else? You know, I had a hard time in consultations before, and I really sucked at it for a while. And I think it was because of my, what I call my abuela programming, my grandma programming, which is like, mind your own business. Don't be a busybody. I truly want to understand what's going in through their mind. I want the process to be so in depth that when they're done with me, when I'm done with them, like, we've had a spiritual movement. They do not, if someone tells them that they're a realtor, they're like, I am not going through this process with anybody else. I just went with Gil. I feel like he knows my social security. I almost cried in front of him 3 times. Like, I'm not doing this with anybody else. Plus, I burnt my tongue. I'm done with this. I'm not doing any more consultations. Gil's my guy, right? And I'll pay him 4, 5, 6%. I don't care because I believe in what he's doing. I believe he's my solution. So let's keep going with some questions, right? Like, another question you might want to ask, and it's like, hey, there's 5 things you have to have in your home. What are they? And on each one of those, what else do you think you're going to ask them? Well, why is that? Tell me more. What else? Okay, I've got 3. Tell me 2 more. Why is that? That's all. What else? Why is that important? You know, when people tell me, hey, Mac, I do my consultations, I meet with them at the by the way, when I said the 3 places where you can meet your client for a consultation, you know what I did not tell you? The first property, because I'm not that interesting. If somebody drives to meet me for a consultation, they meet me at the first property, what do you think they're really focused on? Me? My buyer advantage program? My VIP loyalty program? No. They're interested in the property they drove to go to. And there's nothing I'm going to articulate with any kind of efficiency at that moment. I would tell you, if you have to insist on that, just find the closest Starbucks to that proproperty. Hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to meet right there, and then we're going to go from there. We're going to go over this timeline. Like, every single day, properties go pending, right? There's always a reason to adjust. Get to the coffee shop, get there an hour early, make sure your route's right, double check the properties that you're going to show them, stuff like that. But if you have to do it that way, but I implore you,